Good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Real pleasure for me as the moderator to welcome you to the second day of the SDG Fair. This is really a unique way and a unique opportunity to connect the aspirations that countries have in terms of attainment of the SDGs, the focus on recovery after the pandemic with concrete proposals and ideas with investors. And this is the second day of the SDG Fair. Yesterday, we had such a session with Kenya and Jamaica. Today, we'll have the opportunity to listen to Ghana and Pakistan. We'll have an opportunity to hear from investors about these proposals. And it's also an opportunity for other countries, of course, to listen and participate in this discussion. So I want to encourage particularly everybody who is here to use the chat function, the Q&A function in WebEx. You can post your question as the discussion goes, and that will make it both a live discussion, but really for the collective benefit of all, because this really is an important, new, and innovative way in which we are trying to connect countries with investors and to try and get concrete support for countries in terms of their investment programs. In the case of Pakistan, we have a video message that we will begin with. So maybe we could go to that from His Excellency, the Foreign Minister, Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi. So maybe if we could begin with that video message, please.
Respected representatives from private, business and investment sectors, members of the GISD Alliance, representatives from multilateral and bilateral development partners, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to open the Pakistan country presentation today at this virtual SDGs Investment Fair. The onset of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 has posed unprecedented socio-economic and health-related challenges to the international community. In Pakistan, we implemented a successful policy of smart lockdowns to contain the spread of the virus and to keep the economy afloat. Our post-COVID-19 response, recovery, and resilience solutions to achieve progress towards sustainable development goals remain the top national priorities. Ladies and gentlemen, economic diplomacy is at the core of our foreign policy. The vision of transformed Pakistan is centered around economic security. Our main emphasis has shifted from geopolitics to geoeconomics. With over 220 million people, Pakistan offers its investors a large consumer market with an expanding middle class. With its pivotal geoeconomic location, regional connectivity, and a large segment of skilled, vibrant, and youthful population, Pakistan is an emerging market with great opportunities to invest and to bring maximum dividends for its valued investors. The private sector has a fundamental role to play if the world is to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The 2030 Agenda and the SDGs needs to become the global framework for private sectors to capture the benefits and trade-offs of sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Pakistan is desirous of enhancing foreign direct investment in our growing economy. We seek technology transfer and want to be part of the global supply chains. Southern Pakistan's comparative advantages are in agriculture-based value addition, information technologies, textiles, and labor-oriented services. Pakistan's continued impressive progress on the ease of doing business rankings reflects the growing confidence of investors and businesses in the government's policies. In the end, I congratulate UNDESA for organizing the SDG Investment Fair and extend my sincere appreciation to the UNDP for its collaboration with the Government of Pakistan for today's session. We see this platform as a unique opportunity for showcasing Pakistan's business potential and for generating future partnership in pursuit of our sustainable development goals. We remain committed to facilitating our international business and development partners to strengthen and deepen their economic and development investments in Pakistan. I thank you.
Without further ado, let me turn to the panelists who will make the presentation. For Pakistan, Madam Farina Mazhar, Secretary, Pakistan Investment, and the UNDP Senior Advisor, Financing for Development, and former Pakistan State Minister of Investment, Harun Sharif. So please go ahead, make your presentation.
If somebody could upload the presentation, I'll take the first part. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I would like to welcome all the participants to this timely and strategic event where countries can have a dialogue with international investors to work together for investment deals which can help sustainable development. So I'm delighted to be part of it, particularly grateful to UNDESA, UNDP, other participants, and GISD Alliance. Very quickly, so I will take just 5 minutes to put the things in perspective to set the stage so that you understand where Pakistan comes from. So next slide, please. So Pakistan currently, we had a macroeconomic issue and went to IMF. The stability indicators have improved and Pakistan has achieved stability. And the country is aiming for the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. As our foreign minister said, Pakistan dealt with the COVID pandemic quite well. However, the shock in terms of economic losses is there, as we see in the global economies. If we look at Pakistan, Pakistan basically is approaching towards a large middle class, upper middle class country. The poverty head count had moved down. If we look at the last numbers done in 2015-16, and as mentioned by the foreign minister, Pakistan has been among the top 10 best performers in the World Bank's ease of doing business indicators last year. Similarly, if we look at the SDG linked investments, so Standard Chartered Bank recently gauged only one infrastructure sector, near $100 billion worth of opportunity in Pakistan. What I would like to say, 2 points on this slide, and then I move on, that Pakistan, there's a very large young labor force coming into the market. So we need to increase gradually our investment to GDP ratio to our peer countries to 25%. Currently, it's at 15%. Now, because of COVID, it has created joblessness, and unfortunately, almost 50 million people are likely to go under the poverty line. And that's the challenge where I present this case to the investors to partner with us, and let's deal it together. Next slide, please. There are some numbers. I will not go in all the numbers as I've already elaborated, but there are some things which I would like to highlight. In the recovery phase, Pakistan's GDP growth is estimated this year around 2%, but it's likely to rise in the coming years. But where the gap is that because of the pressure on businesses, our tax collection will not be up to the mark. and because of fiscal pressures, the development expenditure is much lower, is 3.2% of GDP. Now that is the gap where Pakistan wants to attract international investors. And on the upper right hand corner, these are the sectors attracting most of foreign direct investment. Power sector tops it, followed by communication and IT, and then oil and gas sectors. So this is where Pakistan stands. Next slide, please. Now, this is an important slide for investment purpose and for development purpose. It's a country of over 210 million population. And out of that, almost 68% are below the age of 29. And that's a computer literate labor force entering in the market and offers a phenomenal opportunity to investors as well as the development organizations. If we see, we have over 180 million mobile subscribers, almost 100 million internet connections. So that puts this market uniquely in terms of a lucrative opportunity to look at the sectors and reaching out to smaller areas where others have. Next slide, please. Now, this is some of the macro numbers. Pakistan's, as I mentioned before, GDP growth as compared to our competitor or peer countries in Asia remains low, on the lower side when we compare it with Malaysia, Korea, Indonesia, China, and Turkey and India. But Pakistan's projection was 4.2% in financial year 22. But what happened because of COVID, we are now expecting near 3 or slightly up on 3%. As I mentioned before, that our tax revenues, for obvious reasons, a couple of years will remain low. The debt burden went up because of COVID, and Pakistan borrowed, short-term and longer-term debt. Now that is where the investment gaps come in, and Pakistan has, a very good system of financing, scaling up, and impact, in terms of legal and also regulatory structure, which I'll highlight in the next slides. Next slide, please. Now that is just to give you a glimpse towards the thinking of the state. So Prime Minister Imran Khan's government has a lot of emphasis on rebuilding institutions, making growth inclusive, particularly reaching out to the lower end. We want to make our markets competitive, particularly our industrial sector. There is a lot of influence. He's a champion of green economy. And as I mentioned that, almost 68% of population is young. So the focus is on jobs for youth. Now, next slide. Now, very clearly, I'm not at all being a former, head of investment ministry. But let me explain as an independent person, when we look at Pakistan, it's a large market of 200 million people. It's being connected to almost 5 more countries, including Western China, Central Asia, and West Asia. And hopefully in future, Middle East and Eastern side of the neighborhood. High corporate profitability, it rose up to 39% on the stock market in 2019. We have a developed financial market and favorable investment regulation. And that is an important point, that there are market players who have the capability to manage and partner in investments. Highest increase in ease of doing business from 147 to 108. And I must give credit to the teams in Board of Investment who work day and night to achieve that. So that is where, I would like to pitch Pakistan as a frontier market to reach out to investors. Next slide, please. So it's a liberal, as I said, investment regime, both at the legal protection side, but also regulatory side. Pakistan provides uniform treatment and incentives to all investors, be it foreign or bilateral. Pakistan is very, very, cautious of, no minimum investment requirements. Ownership structure of shareholding, barring 1 or 2 sectors, is open by up to 100%. You don't need a partner to enter the country. Pakistan allows 100% repatriation of profits and dividends. There are no restrictions on currency convertibility. And as I said, you can own the companies, you can partner the companies, you can exit. So it's a liberal well-regulated, decently managed investment regime, which is now going to be connected, and it will be touching almost 700 million people in the region. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, this is from Standard Chartered, and they're just in one area of infrastructure, transport, water and sanitation, power and digital access. Pakistan offers over $96 billion worth of opportunities to investors. Next slide, please. And I think that's my last slide. So this is an important slide, which I would like to spend 1 minute on it. So as I said, on the regulatory and legal side, the public-private partnership frameworks are there. So we are the projects which, my colleague will be presenting after this. So there are options to investors. If you want to do individual investments in projects, Board of Investment will fully facilitate as one window and, play the facilitating role between the managers of the company and the investors. Option 2, which I would like to highlight because there are, world-class banking structure available, including foreign banks and local banks. 38 banks are in Pakistan. So I think it has a fantastic opportunity to float an SDG impact fund. It can be strategically partnered. Up to 25% equity can be chipped in through local institutions, and we can reach it to regional markets to cut down the risk factor. The third is, debt market is very well developed and instruments are traded on the stock market. So if we look at sectors like climate change, infrastructure, and technology, which are priority sectors, that is where there's an opportunity of very easily absorbing $500 million to $1 billion facility. So it's a flexible investment options country, opening doors to the people, and right from the top to the working level, people are quite keen to now bring in private sector investment for sustainable growth. I will close that, there are multiple options of risk mitigation, which I haven't talked about, but as the investor interest comes in, we can work about receivables, securitization, guarantees, and other instruments to minimize investor risk. So with that, I will stop here and pass on to the next speaker to explain, just to give a glimpse of projects which Pakistan can offer to investors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif. And if I could turn to Madam Freina Mazhar, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya, for giving me this opportunity to speak here today. I hope I'm audible and you can hear me. So I also want to thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity to present some of our projects on this SDG investment fair. So if you can put on the presentation, that I'll go through it within the given time, I hope so. Next slide, please. So the Federal Board of Investment was established with the mandate of promoting and facilitating both local and foreign investments in all sectors of the country. The objective is the speedy materialization of investment projects, enhancement of Pakistan's international competitiveness, and contribution to economic and social development. The wide range of services provided by Board of Investment also include providing information on the opportunities for investment and helping companies that are looking for joint ventures. Recently, the Board of Investment has also been assigned the task of supervising the regulatory reforms for creating the ease of doing business in the country. We are the regulators for setting up of the special economic zones in the country, and the Chairman Board of Investment is the convener of the Joint Working Group on Industrial Cooperation under CPAC. So Board of Investment acts as a focal point of contact between the investors and other government agencies and departments, both at the federal and the provincial level. Next, please. So several new reforms have been introduced for facilitating investors. A company can now be registered in Pakistan online within 24 hours. We also offer online e-visa facility for 174 countries. Pakistan Single Window Company has recently been launched as part of compliance with the Trade Facilitation Agreement of the World Trade Organization. Now, more than 60 government departments have been linked for getting necessary certifications online. This will result in speedy disposal of import and export transactions. Pakistan offers special tax and other incentives for projects related to technology, clean energy, and social sector, including housing and construction. In Pakistan, the government allows borrowing facility to investors from local as well as foreign banks. Next, please. The Board of Investment has a repository of over $14 billion SDG aligned projects in the sectors of transport and communication, energy including renewable energy, water supply and sanitation, education, healthcare, and information technology. For this fair, in consultation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, United Nations Development Programme, relevant ministries and private sector companies, we are presenting a portfolio of 8 projects worth $3 billion in the sectors of transport and communication, innovative technology, and healthcare. It is important to highlight that Pakistan's financial regulatory structure is robust and facilitates priority sector investments through flexible support. Next, please. So this is a list of the projects which I will be presenting today, and I will discuss them one by one. Next, please. So the first project is the Sialkot Khania Rawalpindi Motorway Phase 1. This important toll road project of $290 million has been designed with a total length of 69 kilometers, connecting Pakistan's largest SME industrial cities. The basic design and commercial feasibility studies have been conducted. The project will be an extension of a 4-lane Lahore-Sialkot motorway, which is already operational for traffic. The Sialkot Khania project will further be extended up to Rawalpindi in the next phase. The project will reduce cost of doing business and increase commercial transport connectivity. This project will contribute to SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, SDG 9, Industry Innovation and Infrastructure, and SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. Industrial cities like Sialkot, Gujarat, and Wazirabad will get high-speed connectivity. Moreover, migration pressure to large cities will be reduced, and thousands of jobs related to 40 industries associated with the construction of road shall be created. Next, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project for the concessions period. The project is financially viable with equity IRR of 17% and the project IRR of 14%. There is also a possibility of guarantee by the government in the form of viability gap fund. The development partners and operators of the project are yet to be finalized. The construction is expected to be started by the first quarter of 2022. Next, please. So, Sialkot Khania Rawalpindi Motorway Phase 2. This is a $1.15 billion Phase 2 of Khania to Rawalpindi section of the project and is designed with a total length of 115 kilometers. The basic design and commercial feasibility studies are in progress. The project will be an extension of the 4-lane Sialkot Khania motorway, which is under procurement. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, SDG 9, Industry Innovation and Infrastructure, and SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. This project will provide connectivity with underdeveloped and deprived areas. It will also reduce pressure on the urban migration. Thousands of jobs will be created, allied with the 40 industries associated with the construction of road. Next, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, This project will also be executed through an SPV. The project is financially viable with an equity IRR of 17% and project IRR of 14%. As in phase 1, there is a possibility of guarantee by the government in the form of viability gap fund. Development partners and operators of this project are also yet to be finalized, and the construction is expected to start by the second quarter of 2022. Next slide, please. So the second project is 188 megawatt Naran hydropower project. A $431 million Naran dam and powerhouse have been proposed on the river stretch between Kaghan and Batakundi on Kunhar River. Naran is one of the most attractive tourist destinations in Pakistan, and the government is offering incentives to investors for developing domestic tourism. The dam site or Kunhar River is 12 kilometers upstream of major tourist city of Naran. The powerhouse is to be located on the left bank of Kunhar River, 11 kilometers downstream of Naran town. IFC has been appointed as the transaction manager for this KPK clean energy project. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, and SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. Several new businesses will be generated along with the provision of low-cost clean energy. Large number of jobs will be created both during implementation and operation phases, along with reduction in carbon emissions. Next slide, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project for the concessions period. The project is financially viable with financial IRR of 7.05%. Development partners and operator of the projects are yet to be finalized, and the construction is expected to start by the second quarter of 2024. Next slide, please. So the third project is a 96 megawatt Batakundi hydropower project. The feasibility study indicates the project with a size of 96 megawatt having good economic rate of return with a cost of $188 million. This project is also located in the same district and will support tourism and local consumption. The Batakundi hydropower project is proposed to be located on Kunhar River, with its powerhouse located about 1 kilometer downstream of Batakundi village, which falls in the district Mansehra of KP province. IFC has been appointed as the transaction manager for this KPK clean energy project. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, and SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. A number of new businesses will be generated along with the provision of low-cost clean energy, and a significant number of jobs will be created both during implementation and operation phases along with the reduction in carbon emission. Next, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project for the concessions period. The project is financially viable with financial IRR of 10.8%. Development partners and operators of the project are yet to be finalized, and the construction is expected to start by the fourth quarter of the year 2024. Next, please. The fourth project is regarding Medical Devices Development Center. Innovative Health Technologies is a public sector company established by National University of Science and Technology. It is currently producing low-cost treatment solutions for the patients suffering from heart diseases. The company is looking to expand and scale up operations. There is a business opportunity in producing ventilators, syringe pumps, dialysis machines, patient monitors, catheters, and immediate expansion of 3 to 10 projects, scaling up to 10 projects in the next 2 years. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to the SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 9, industry innovation and infrastructure, and SDG 10, reduced inequalities. The project will contribute to the availability of the cost-effective healthcare services in Pakistan, reduction in import bill, and job opportunities in the healthcare sector. It will also contribute to post-COVID healthcare provisions. If you could excuse me just for 30 seconds, it's time for break our fast. So we will just do that. Thank you. Regarding the indicative project structure, next slide, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for execution of the project. The estimated cost of the pilot project is $2.31 million. Project is financially viable with IRR of 7.1%. The project cost is just for the pilot program that will enable us to grow from 3 to 10 products at a limited time scale. Full scalability and return on investment can be discussed offline. Next slide, please. The fifth project is the silicon solar PV panel fabrication facility. Pakistan is importing more than 3,000 megawatts of photovoltaic solar panels per annum. A joint venture $19.2 million project is planned to meet the demand of photovoltaic panels, which is increasing exponentially. It is estimated that 2,900 gigawatt of electricity can be generated in Pakistan using daylight hours. Importing huge quantity of photovoltaic panels is consuming substantial amount of foreign exchange. Therefore, local manufacturing of photovoltaic panels is direly needed. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities, SDG 12, responsible production and consumption, and SDG 17, partnerships for the goals. The project will contribute towards affordable renewable energy, reduced carbon emissions, and climate change risk mitigation. Next slide, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project. Project is financially viable with an IRR of 12.2%. Development partners and operators of the project are yet to be finalized, and the project is expected to be completed by the second quarter of the year 2024. Next slide, please. The sixth project is the production of agricultural drones and 250 smart farms. Pakistan, which is an agricultural country, can greatly benefit from the drone technology for productivity enhancement by using cost-effective and efficient technology for farming. This project will allow on an average 10 times yield generation with efficient utilization of land. With drone technologies and sensors at smart farms, yield will increase with safer production and efficient utilization of resources. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 9, Industry Innovation and Infrastructure, and SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. We can achieve improved productivity in agricultural sector and contribute towards food security. This will also have direct impact on the rural poverty reduction through higher yields and job opportunities. Next slide, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project. The estimated cost of the project is $58 billion. The project is financially viable with financial IRR of 23.19%. The project is expected to be completed by the first quarter of the year 2023. Next, please. Project 7 is the NED Technology Park. A $56 million NED Inter-Regional Technology Park ITP will be the first fully integrated science and technology park of Pakistan and will be established under public-private partnership model. This initiative is aimed at redesigning the knowledge economy by stimulating and nurturing innovation-led germination and growth of high technology entities. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 4, quality education, SDG 9, industry, innovation and infrastructure, and SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. It is anticipated that this project will create 200 new business opportunities, 4,000 new jobs with major contribution in productivity enhancement through technology. This platform will facilitate digital adoption through university-industry linkage. Next slide, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project. The project is financially viable with financial IRR of 15%. The project is to be implemented on public-private partnership mode. NED University and the private developer will sign the project, the PPP agreement, and the construction is expected to start by January 2022. Next slide, please. Project 8.
Madam, Mazhar, if we could ask you to speed up a little bit because we have to
This is the last project.
Okay,
This
thank
is
you.
the last project. Startup incubations across Pakistan. The National Incubation Center is a joint venture of Government of Pakistan and major corporate entities. NIC is currently running 5 startup facilities in all provinces of Pakistan. Each facility hosts 50 startup technology companies. With their remarkable contribution to youth employment and technology innovation, they have decided a major expansion for establishing innovation ecosystems and themed incubators across 20 locations in the country. The estimated cost of the project is $120 million. Regarding the SDG impact, this project will contribute to SDG 4, SDG 9, and SDG 17. These centers will continue incubating and supporting 500 startups per annum, promoting digital connectivity and innovation, creating 100,000 jobs across the span of the project through the companies. Next slide, please. Regarding the indicative project structure, an SPV will be created for the execution of the project. The project is financially viable with financial IRR of 14%. The project is expected to be completed by the fourth quarter of 2022. So that is the end of the presentation. Thank you so much.